Guys, the bot builder's back and welcome to another video, and this is the Edit Wars Grand Final. Yes, on the past few days we've gone through Heat A and Heat B to determine the final four robots that will be competing in the Edit Wars Grand Final, and we're finally here. We've already had some. So, despite this being a short tournament, it's been a good one. We've had some good fights and even a couple of shocks along the way. But now we're at the final four, so let's not hesitate and let's run down our grand finalists. Oh yes, we've whittled down the competition to 12 and we said goodbye to 8 machines. And now, only 4 robots are left. Here are our 4 grand finalists. Our first is Swindobot JP's robot, SpawnerSkutter. They got through the first round after eliminating Chicken Strip's robotics robot Shellshock with the help of Typhoon Challenger's robot Brimher, before having a very good tussle with U2 representing Crystal Carnage in the next round. Despite their flipper exploding, a missile right from U2 saw them eliminated. They look strong, but have they fixed their flipper troubles? Next up is Robot Combat Models, Big Cheese. They were very impressive in the first round, absolutely trouncing Razor 905 2.0's robot Probophobia, sending them out the arena of the spinner, before having a good tussle with Typhoon Challenger's Brimher, throwing them out of the arena. This robot looks dominant and they're one of the favourites to win. Can anything stop them? Robot Fighting Replicas Earthwaz's machine, Lucifer, looked very impressive. In the first round, they flipped over Squirming Vermin representing Theo Hummel, leaving them to the mercy of the Drop Zone and the House Robots, before taking out Wolfie Production 98's robot Alien Destructor in a good, close judge's decision. This robot looks strong. Could be a dark horse, I think. And finally, we have Alvi Islam's robot, Beamoff. Yes, the overhead spinning saw blade and best friend of Virus. They helped out Lucifer take out Squirming Vermin in the first round before having a go close tussle with Dead Slot 142's robot Pat. They used good driving skill and help from their friend Virus to eliminate them and consign them to the pit of oblivion. So while it has been a short tournament, it's definitely been a good one. But now we will crown the champion. So here's the lineup for the grand finals. Coming up later, we'll be having SpawnerSkutter take on Beamoff. But first, it's Robot Fighting Replicas Earthwaz's machine, Lucifer, taking on Robot Combat Models robot, the Big Cheese. Let's get to the arena for our first fight in the grand final. So this should be a good fight between two very impressive machines. I say these two have probably been the two most impressive in their heats. The Big Cheese representing Robot Combat Models and Lucifer representing Robot Fighting Replicas Earthwaz. Should be a good fight, and in the control zone for the CPZs, overseeing the action, is Growler and Rhino. Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1... Activate. Now, I might remind you, whoever wins this tournament will gain automatic access into Series 2, and Lucifer immediately trying to come for a good attack right down to Big Cheese, but Big Cheese are coming in that spinner, and they're trying to cause some good damage, but Lucifer trying to flip him up right there. Big Cheese are trying to come for a good flip right there, but they miss, and that was another good flip, but they are missing right here. But they're missing right here. Oh, no! Well, that was quick, wasn't it? Oh, no! Oh, they're going after Growler! Growler's been flipped, and now in comes Rhino. I have a feeling Big Cheese could win this. I thought Lucifer, they could have had a chance if they perhaps got them onto their side, but Big Cheese didn't let them and chucked them out. There's a reason why they're favoured to win, and now they're going after Rhino. They're going after Rhino. Oh, big slam right there, oh, they flipped Rhino out of the arena. My God, Big Cheese, you look scary. The spinner seems to be a bit battered, but they should be able to fix that for the finals, surely. Cease. Well, that was very quick. New battle music, well, you hardly heard it. Big Cheese, as soon as he's forgotten that flipper, they were out. From this side of the arena, all the way over there. Can anything stop the Big Cheese? Well, they're in the finals. Honestly, if this robot doesn't win, I'd be very surprised. But now let's move on to our other fight in the final four. Gotta feel bad for Lucifer. I thought they were one of the most impressive looking robots in this tournament, and I thought they could have potentially had a chance against the Big Cheese if they got robot combat models on their side, but no, the Big Cheese just chucked them out. But now, but who will they face in the grand finals? Will it be Swindlebot JP's robot, SpawnerSkutter? Or will it be Alfie Islam's robot, Beamoff? On the Core Patrol for the CPZs, Beamoff's best friend is back here again. It's Virus. And Virus has also brought on his fellow drinking buddy, Matilda. Roboteers, stand by. Three. Sorry about that, bit of an error just then. Had a bit of an error. A song that I was going to use for the grand final recap, but didn't. Started playing, so just ignore that. Let's try that again. Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate. Yeah, this is the song I was going to use, and this should be a very interesting battle here, because already Beamoff are bringing down the overhead saw in onto Spawn again, and Spawn again. They don't really have an answer for Beamoff's low scoop, do they? Beamoff bringing down the overhead saw, soaring into the vulnerable top of SpawnerSkutter. I just called it Spawn again earlier, didn't I? Well, currently Beamoff are currently dominating Spawn again at the minute. Spawn again, they did have a bit of trouble in their heat. They did. Their flipper did explode against U2. And, well, I think Beamoff are just cutting into the vulnerable top armor of SpawnerSkutter. SpawnerSkutter, they do go back down. And now they're going to try and wedge in underneath Beamoff. And they have done. They do wedge in underneath. And that was a good attack right there. Wedging in underneath Beamoff and trying to come that front hinge flipper. Now, SpawnerSkutter are another one of the favourites to win this. I think the top 3 favourites were Lucifer, Big Cheese, SpawnerSkutter, and Pat, I think, were another one of the favourites to win, but they didn't quite do it! Oh, that was a great attack from Beamoff, though! SpawnerSkutter came with a good flip, but now their CO2 canister's exposed, and Beamoff are bringing down the overhead saw, and are soaring straight into it! Oh, this could cause some awful damage right here! They're bringing down the overhead saw, and SpawnerSkutter seem to be in lots of trouble! This could be... This is just showing us how effective an overhead saw robot can be. SpawnerSkutter are just being dominated here. There's nothing they can do. They do get away, but look at their flipping arm. Powered via CO2, but I think the CO2 canister has just been battered. I think the CO2 canister has been battered, but they still have a wedge. Oh, they still have a wedge. I'd have to say this is probably fight of the tournament, this is. Great, it's been a short tournament, but this is still a good tussle, and we've still had some decent fights. SpawnerSkutter still wedging in underneath Beamoff though, and Beamoff, despite bringing down the saw, the flipper has closed somehow. Maybe that was just gravity doing all that, but they can't use their flipper because, well, their CO2 canister has been sliced through, and Virus retaliated against his friend. Virus, what are you doing? Maybe he's so drunk he thinks it's SpawnerSkutter. Beamoff still trying to come with that overhead saw. This is an excellent tussle, this is. And Beamoff very nearly going down the pit just then. Oh, man, this is an incredibly close battle, this is. This has to be fight of the tournament, I think. Between SpawnerSkutter and Beamoff. Beamoff being pushed. SpawnerSkutter still pushing them back, though. And Beamoff are in trouble. And look at one of their side Treemex. One of their side Treemex is in trouble. And SpawnerSkutter, well, I mean, if they just get them down the pit, they've done it! Cease. And just before time ran out as well, they got... How? How did they do that? How did SpawnerSkutter do that? Their flipper was ruined. It was ruined by the overhead saw. They sawed right through the CO2 bottle, ruined it, but they still used their great pushing power to knock Beamoff, damage the Shremek, and capitalise, sending them down the pit. That has to be one of the best fights of the tournament. That has to be one of my favourite fights in general. That was an excellent battle. and SpawnerSkutter. Very lucky, but they go through to championship decider. But before we find a champion, it's time for a third place playoff. As well, Lucifer, representing Robot Fighting Replicas Earthwolves, and the very unlucky Beamoff will do battle. Should be a good battle, this. And in the corner patrol zone for the CPZs is Virus once again and Rhino. Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate. Now, honestly, I think both robots deserve third place more than each other. I mean, this is just for bragging rights, though. I mean, either way, we won't be seeing any of these robots in Series 2, apart from the winner of this tournament. But Lucifer, coming with a good flip onto Beamoff just then. Beamoff, they do self-right with that overhead saw blade. But now Lucifer coming with a good flip right there. But they do self-right using the weapon. I think Beamoff were incredibly unlucky against SpawnerSkutter. But SpawnerSkutter, I mean, that's just the way it goes, really. Bad luck does happen, and SpawnerSkutter just got incredibly lucky. And because they got a lucky win, everyone's gonna start hating them in the comments for it, because that seems to be what happens with fan-made Robot Wars. If a robot gets a lucky win, the robot gets hated. I mean, look at Cardicus from RWA. Hashtag stop hating Cardicus. Anyway, sorry about that. Back to the fight. Beamoff self-rights using their self-righting arm. Hopefully it shouldn't malfunction again. I think Lucifer, they got an unlucky draw. I think they are a deserved grand finalist. They're a deserved top 2 finisher, I reckon, but they got such an unlucky draw against the Big Cheese. Beamoff, though, they're on their backs. They do self-right, but Lucifer are coming with that flipper, and they are flipping them. And currently right now, I'd say Lucifer on top right now. Beamoff, they probably should have been in the grand finals. I mean, they probably should have been. They were dominating that fight against SpawnerSkutter, but their Shreemex had a bit of trouble right here. Beamoff bringing down the saw blade once again, but Lucifer coming with some good flips right there onto Beamoff. The thing about Lucifer is that they just lack that killing potential. So does Beamoff, though, and that is what kind of got them in trouble in the end for Beamoff. Lucifer, I mean, they just got flipped out. I mean, they could have beaten Big Cheese if they got them on their side, but Big Cheese wasn't going to allow that to happen, was he? Robot Combat Models, he was not going to let that happen. And Virus now grabbing a hold of Lucifer, and Beamoff are bringing down the overhead saw in onto Lucifer, and sparks will fly. Invisible sparks will fly. Only I can see it, because sparks are now a stand user, I guess. And Beamoff getting flipped up, and Beamoff seem to be stuck against the arena sidewall, and they look vulnerable. But now they get back down, but Lucifer can retaliate with a good couple of flips. And they're out the arena. Oh, good bit of driving skill there from Lucifer. And while they may not be getting first, a third place should do very nicely. Cease. A good bit of driving skill there from Robot Fighting Replicas Earthwolves to get Beamoff stuck against the arena wall and flip them out. They get third place. Beamoff, they get a respectable 4th at least. So it now all comes down to this, the final 2. Yes, we started off with 12 machines, but now we're down to 2. 10 robots have been bashed, smashed and defeated, and these are our final 2 robots. Our first robot is Big Cheese, the Big Cheese, representing Robot Combat Models. This robot has been very impressed throughout this entire tournament with that massive, powerful flipper and the destructive rear spinner. They absolutely trashed Probophobia in the first round before sending them out the arena, before giving Brimher the same fate. And then they beat Lucifer in an incredibly quick tussle, chucking them clean out the arena. This robot is probably the favourites to win this, but they are fighting a robot that seems to have luck on their side. And that robot is Swindobot JP's robot, SpawnerSkutter. In their first round, they looked very impressive, beating Shellshock, but their luck really started to show in their fight with U2, when their flipper exploded, but they were still able to beat U2 after their self-writer got them stuck, before having an excellent tussle with Beamoff, where they managed to knock Beamoff onto their side, breaking their Shreemex before sending them down to the pit, despite their CO2 bottle being trashed. So we have a robot that's been absolutely dominant, and a robot that's been lucky. I mean, we can't get any more different than that. But who will come out on top? And overseeing this potentially either really close or really short grand final, we have Matilda with her flipping tusks and rear flywheel, and Growler with his gnashing jaws and four-wheel drive skid steer system. So let's get this fight started. Oh boy, I can't wait. Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. No. Activate. Oh, this should be... I don't know. This grand final could either be very quick or SpawnerSkutter will get lucky once again. Well, they come in with a good push right onto Big Cheese, and Big Cheese have been flipped up and over. Well, maybe they will get lucky. Imagine if SpawnerSkutter wins this. SpawnerSkutter, they've been a very good machine, but my god, they've had luck on their side. And maybe they'll have luck on their side once again if they were able to beat the Big Cheese. The Big Cheese have been flipped up and over. Oh no. Oh no, we've seen this happen to robots like Ace before, where their spinner seems to be a bit wonky. The Big Cheese, though, they do seem to have corrected it. And SpawnerSkutter, very close to going down the pit, but look at the flipper. It's been ruined. And they're out the arena. The spinner's nearly coming out. They didn't really need it though, did they? They just chucked them out. Well, that was nice and easy, wasn't it? The house robots did nothing once again. Well done, Robot Combat Models. You actually won something. Cease. Well, bit of a disappointing grand final, admittedly. Incredibly quick. SpawnerSkutter got chucked out after narrowly avoiding the pit. I thought they could potentially get lucky, but seems their luck had ran out. And now, over to the championship ceremony we go. Well done, Big Cheese. When we talk about championship roads, at least every champion had at least a tiny bit of struggle. However, this robot had barely any. It dominated the entire thing, which is impressive. Robot Combat Models has entered a couple of tournaments before, including the Account Mayhem, where he came incredibly close, but met Scrapper and lost. But now, with his robot Big Cheese, he destroyed Probophobia, flipped out Brimher, flipped out Lucifer, and before doing the same to SpawnerSkutter. And now Robot Combat Models can know what it feels like to have sweet victory. Commiserations to our losers, of course. SpawnerSkutter came second, Lucifer came third, and Beamoff came fourth. But we only have one trophy, and that trophy is going straight into the cabinet of Robot Combat Models and his robot, the Big Cheese. And they will be competing in Series 2. And we'll be seeing you next time for my next video. But until then, the Bot Builder out.